A function is arguably the core of PHP and the cornerstone of structured, procedural, and object-oriented programming. It can be seen as an input-output machine, where some code is fed into the machine, this is the input. The machine then performs some actions on this data and then outputs an answer based on those actions. For example, if you wanted to make 1 cup of coffee, you would boil water, add sugar, coffee, and milk. But if you wanted to make 100 cups of coffee, you would probably want a specialized coffee making machine where you didn't have to add the ingredients manually for every cup you made. Similarly, functions are used to manipulate code in this way so that you don't have to retype the code every time you want to perform the same action. A simple function would be, for example, a call to make a connection to the database. Now, calls to the database are made very often in PHP, where you need to update the database or add new data entries into the database. So instead of having to write some code out every time that you needed to make a connection, you'd write a function that would accomplish this task for you, and then every time you needed to make a connection to the database, you would call that function. So let's have a look at how you would call and define a function in PHP. The basic syntax for defining a function is the word function, followed by the name you assign to your function, then parentheses, followed by curly braces. The word function tells PHP that you are defining a function. The name you give your function follows the same conventions as with all other identifiers in PHP, namely that it can contain numbers, letters, and underscores, but can't start with a number. The brackets or parentheses are used to pass variables into the function, and in between the curly braces, you place the code that will perform the desired actions. Then to call a function from within your code, you would simply type the name that you have assigned your function, followed by 2 parentheses and the semicolon. Let's have a look at a practical example. So in this example, we'll create a function that will output the word hello in between 2 h1 tags onto the screen. So we'll start off with the opening and closing PHP tags. And then remember, to define a function, we use the word function, followed by the name that we assign to our function. In this case, we'll just call it big hello, followed by the 2 parentheses, and then opening and closing curly braces. Then within the curly braces, we would then write our code that we would like the function to output. And in this case, we will use the PHP echo statement to output 2 h1 tags that encapsulate the word hello. Alright, now our function is defined. Now we need to call our function. So in order to call the function, we would use the name that we assigned to the function, followed by 2 parentheses and a semicolon. Then we'll hit save and head over to our browser to see if it works. So let's go to the browser. We'll call that file. And then we can see it's output the word hello in between 2 h1 tags onto the screen. So just to prove the point that you can call the function anytime you like in order to define or in order to display those words onto the screen, we can go back to our code and we can copy and paste the function call as many times as we like. So we're going to do it 3 times. We'll hit save. Let's go back to the browser. And then upon refresh, you'll see that it outputs the words hello 3 times onto the screen because we called the function. So we could do this as many times as we like and wherever we'd like in our script.